guys, and welcome back to a preview for Thrones 2.0.
The preview, the only preview
Steven.
that matters.
That's Robert.
I'm Robert.
It is the only preview that matters because today is the Lannisters.
That's right.
Depending on where you are in the books and or show, greatest house or perhaps
The greatest house.
not.
It's the only house that matters. I mean, like, say what you will. I mean, I think it's always between, like, the Starks and the Lannisters for the families that, like, really tie everything together.
They're playing the game.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
they're
the
playing the
Lannisters are always playing the game. Maybe not well. Maybe not well.
They're
at all
always
times,
playing,
but they're
right?
always playing.
Yeah, and they're aware that they're playing.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing.
Very deliberate players.
So let's start out with the card that we have,
Okay.
which is the preview itself, and then we're going to dive into a bit of the preview article that FFG has posted. And Robert, why don't you go for it? You're our resident Lannister expert.
This fat boy?
Hear me roar, yeah.
All right, Hear Me Roar is the card. It is a one-cost Lannister event reading action. Put a Lannister character into play from your hand at the end of the phase. If that card is still in play, discard it from play. Cannot be saved.
It means so much.
It's
You can draw so much from this card.
What do you say?
Well,
about
first of all,
something
like
this? It's first off, it's phenomenal.
yeah, the cards like this are always just crazy.
Yes.
They're always crazy.
Yes.
There's no cost limit on the card that you put into play, so it's bonkers. I mean, it's insanity. But the other thing is, we talked to Nate in that first interview whenever they just announced this game that there would be more houses and that certain concepts would be shifting to different houses so that it made more sense.
Sure.
And we'll speak to the cards later in the preview, but we see now that Lannister's having a good deal of ambush as well.
Thank you.
And then they get this event that is putting things into play like out of nowhere.
Yes.
So it seems like the Lannisters have taken the reins on the old kind of Targaryen bouncy style stuff, which makes a whole lot of sense because as we've talked about, right?
Yes.
It's because they have a ton of money.
They have a ton of money.
They can buy it now. It's like they can buy it now on eBay instead of bidding. It's the exact same kind of
Did you want to
philosophy.
pay it with cash or check?
Yeah.
Cash every time. They're
Cash.
getting it now.
Here's a
That
pile-
check doesn't have to clear.
Here's a pile of gold.
It's never going to bounce.
Come
Yeah.
fight for me.
Yeah, come
It's
fight
like,
for
oh,
me.
man,
So it's like,
we didn't expect that guy to show up.
yeah, when you have that kind of money, whatever you want can happen now.
Yep.
Today, not tomorrow, today.
And finally,
And this
that
plays to
feels
that.
correct, right? This is not like, oh, we have a Lannister that gives us +2 gold kind of rich.
Yes.
This is like the effects themselves speak to the Lannisters having a ton of money. And like, this card is crazy.
It's unbelievable. It's bananas.
And it's an action.
It's an action, and it's
Not challenges.
Any phase, yeah. So it's just action, but it's within the constraints of a particular phase in which you use it. So that'll check it. But nonetheless, the fact that conceivably with this huge spectrum gold curve that we're going to have, plopping a fatty 7-8 cost plus into play, even just in the challenges phase, is going to be crazy.
Potential abuses, plot phase.
Naturally.
Throw somebody in a plot phase as some kind of a plot action. That's crazy. First turn of the game, you get to do it before you've even marshaled.
Yep.
And it's like, oh no. I guess maybe you wouldn't have the gold. We do need to think about that because you wouldn't have the gold for that, which is a good check against it. So really, we're looking at marshaling, challenges, maybe dominance.
Correct.
And you're probably not going to do standing or taxation or any of that.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. What
So
comes
yeah,
out.
so that's fair then. So marshaling, if you want to get something for cheap for whatever reason in that phase, if you just don't want to pay the cost. And maybe there's this awesome 6 cost due with a marshaling action that says kneel him and put a bunch of guys in or something.
But even so, like in 1.0, we saw plenty of cards that allowed you to get gold before the marshaling window. So
Even plots that do that,
I would anticipate some sort of concert between this card and something like that if it ever comes out. But yeah, this in and of itself, crazy.
Incredible.
Watch out.
Incredible.
Surprise dominance for the win.
Well, let's move on to another card that offers a bit of surprise, which is the Burnman.
That's right.
This is a clansman. It's a 2-cost guy. He's got a military icon, and he's got 2 strength. And he's very simple. He just has ambush 2. So you pay 2 gold and put him in during the challenges phase. How cool is that?
Perfect.
I mean, it's just like a guy, right?
Yeah.
And now, we don't know the extent of the expanded gold curve. I mean, we're still kind of evaluating things
feeling it
based on that. I feel like it's about a half gold to 1 gold behind, or I say above what it used to be.
Yes.
So like something in 1.0 that would be 2 is about 2.5 to 3 in 2.0.
I agree, but part of me, with more of these previews coming out and seeing how things are working, feels like though there is the expanded goal curve, I feel like most of the cards still operate more or less within that 0 to 3 range, but that the 4 and up is just more dramatic, more pronounced now, and that you're definitely getting what you're paying for. But again, I also think that it might just be, everything's a little bit skewed on the average.
But we know the power of
ambush.
Of ambush, period.
Yes.
But then secondarily, of a 2-strength dude who can offer a military icon, which is, it's hard to really take favorites here, but it's arguably one of the best things to surprise your opponent with.
Sure.
Because even if you're going second, and they launch all their challenges, and then all of a sudden, I have a military icon that they didn't expect me to have that then launches this 2-claim challenge, that's a real problem.
Yes.
Or a surprise blocker, those kinds of things.
Yeah, any way you slice it, it upsets the battle math in a big way. You can't plan for that.
And I will say the good thing about Ambush this time around is that it is gold-based, which means it's more broadcastable than in the past. Because it used to be it had influence locations, and they were contributing no matter what. So you didn't know if they had the cards in their hand. Whereas if a Lannister player over here is holding 4 gold, it's like, he didn't marshal very many things. Perhaps he's planning to ambush some things. So I think it's going to be ultimately a much more balanced and interesting mechanic.
Yeah, I agree. Great card. And again, kind of with Hear Me Roar, ties right into the Lannisters have money, man. They can pay for things.
They got the cash.
Here it is.
Hit me up with Lannisport.
All right, so Lannisport.
Nonsense.
It is a 3-cost unique Lannister location. It is the Westerlands traded reading reaction. After you win an entry challenge, draw 1 card.
Doesn't have a limit. Can be on defense, on offense.
Yes.
This is a serious Lannister
crazy card. Yeah, and this is the kind of support card that you want to see, especially for unique. It doesn't really need to be unique, except that you won't have multiples triggering. But this guy, this location rather, is just bonkers.
If
classic
I was
Lannister card draw.
If I was running House of Dreams, for instance, in 2.0, this would be a very reasonable thing to do.
Straight away. And this is the kind of thing that you want to see. It'll be fun to see how this interacts with reserve values on the plot cards, of course, because getting a lot of card draw is good, but getting so much of it that you won't even be able to hold on to it in between rounds will be another thing to try to feel out.
And these kinds of effects, drawing during the challenges phase with things like Hear Me Roar and the Burnman, really kind of set the Lannisters up to do things that they have no business doing.
Exactly.
Which is card draw during challenges phase. Oh, look, a Hear Me Roar. Now I'm going to put this 8-cost in and just seal the game up.
Yep.
So this is a really fantastic card, and basically its sister card, Casterly Rock, 2-cost, unique, Stronghold Westerlands. You may initiate an additional intrigue challenge during the challenges phase. These 2 things out together it becomes a serious problem.
It's bananas.
It's a real problem at that point. It's 5 gold worth of location, but oh my gosh.
You can't, it is 5 gold, but you can't tell me it's not worth it between the 2 of them to spend 5 gold on these kinds of locations.
I wouldn't say that.
But
I could never tell you that.
But more to the point is especially drawing the line, and it's going to continue to build as we talk about more of these cards. Looking back at the preview we did for the start cards, and now all these Lannister cards, they are really honing in nicely on a thematic mechanic for all these houses. The Starks are all standy, they're doing all kinds of stuff, shutting people down, ready to defend, and already all this moneyed, intriguey nonsense from the Lannister cards, it's just yes.
It's exactly what you want.
Yes, it's
right?
the game I want to play with the Lannisters.
What you want. And more importantly, maybe than anything, is that these 2 working so well together does not take away from them working excellently apart.
Exactly.
And the more cards that we can have like that in the game, I feel like the better off it's going to be. This isn't a combo that you're setting up. This is just a lot of good things happening all at once whenever they get put together. So I would take Casterly Rock by itself. I would take Lannisport by itself. I would certainly take them together.
Yeah.
And that effect just, again, opens up a play style that is take cards out of hand, get a bunch of gold, get card draw yourself, and that's what the Lannisters want to do in the books, in the show, in the old card game, everything, and they've actually nailed the flavor here. So, very impressive, very impressive.
Thank you.
What about old Cersei here?
Old Cersei doing
She's in the preview.
Yeah, doing some work. She, of course, is a 4-cost Lannister character with an intrigue and power icons, 4 strength, Lady and Queen traded. Important.
This is Queen Cersei,
Queen Cersei. That's always going to come back and help things out, I'm sure. And then reading, while Cersei Lannister is attacking during an intrigue challenge, raise the claim on your revealed plot card by 1.
Well,
boy howdy. Boy howdy.
We were just talking about this before we turned the cameras on, that surprised that she doesn't have a keyword in a positive way.
Correct.
Positively surprised.
Yes. So generally in 1.0, we kind of expected, I suppose is a fair word, unique characters of at least greater than 3 costs to just come equipped with a keyword of some kind or another.
If not more than 1.
Yeah, in addition to whatever nice ability they may or may not have. But Cersei doesn't have that. She has a super solid ability, very nice traits, well costed for her strength, so no complaints whatsoever, but it's noteworthy to me that there wasn't that, what I would say is almost an auto-include keyword there.
It seems like,
renown.
yeah, it's just a little bit more streamlined, it's like, here's what this character's doing, and we don't need to add anything on top. There's no cherry on top of this thing.
This is sufficient. And probably even more appropriate because it isn't there. Because it's like, honestly, Cersei's a little bit obvious sometimes. So she doesn't need to be stealthy.
Yeah, she doesn't have stealth. She's not deadly.
Yeah, she's not deadly.
What she is raising the claim of an intrigue challenge.
Yes.
That's exactly what she does.
Yes, because she's just crazy.
She's
going to do whatever it takes.
So Cersei Lannister, obviously incredible card. We also have the Queen's Assassin, which I assume the Queen at this point is Cersei, so Cersei's Assassin. A 2-cost intrigue with 2 strength. So kind of a burned man looking guy.
Right.
However, he has ambush 4. So you got to pay 4 for him.
Twice the price? But why?
He's a spy also. Reaction. After the Queen's Assassin enters play using ambush, choose an opponent. If you have more cards in hand than that player, he or she must choose and kill a character he or she controls.
That sounds pretty good to me.
It sounds really good, doesn't it? I mean, there's going to be scenarios where you have silly turns like Burnman coming in, or you drop something in with Jeremy Roar. You get off the unexpected 2-claim military challenge. Then you ambush in the Queen's Assassin, and the only character they have left is their awesome guy. You're like, oh great, like that's how Thrones works, and we understand that. And this is just a super powerful effect that triggers off of something the Lannisters want to do, which is quite different than the counter synergy that we saw last time around in 1.0, which was we're going to balance like Lannisters having card draw, but then giving them effects that trigger when they have less cards, like the Clansman.
Counterintuitive things going on.
It's just like, no, I'm doing what I'm doing, and if I'm doing it well, it works even better.
Yes.
Because assassins are great like that.
It builds up head of steam, and again, this ambush stuff is going to be phenomenal for Lannister.
And I am glad that this guy wasn't, you get to choose the guy that dies.
And
that would be a little too much.
Yeah, it keeps it in check, both with the cost and then how the actual mechanic plays out.
Yeah.
I like it. It's not unreasonable.
Well, let's go to the kind of the last of the spoilers here that we saw on that article.
Home stretch.
Talk to me about the things I do for love. I know you have a lot to say about this card.
Yeah, so this is a Lannister event. The things I do for love. It costs X. And then it says, play only if you control a Lannister lord or lady character, and then reading challenges action. Kneel your faction card to choose a character with printed cost X or lower, controlled by an opponent, and return it to its owner's hand.
So during challenge, I can pay 5 gold to put your 5-cost guy into your hand.
Exactly. Bounce them.
Yep.
Just get them out of here.
After they declared as attackers, after they declared as defenders, these kinds of things that we all are aware of.
And worth noting here, and this is kind of what we were talking about earlier that I really wanted to say. This is that point in time in the books and the show where everybody builds their first negative impression of Jaime Lannister. Because it's like,
he pushes Bran out
of a window, and it's like, shame on you. But later, as the show and books progress, he was actually trying to do us a favor, because let's be honest, Bran is so boring. If he had in fact just died there, we would have been saved from a lot of just kind of like lame chapters.
There's a lot of story there that
do you want to read an Arya chapter, or do you want to read a Bran chapter?
No, he wants to read a Bran chapter.
Let's be honest. It's like whenever Bran, I think Jonathan said it, whenever Bran's name shows up as the title heading for a chapter, it's just like,
I'm just going to slog through this one, then I'll get to the real action. Well, I mean...
But needless to say, anything that is boomerangy is going to be powerful, but the thing that really makes me like this, as opposed to something like Gaston Grey in 1.0, is it's directly proportionate.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's controlled through and through in a way that nobody can really ever object.
That's the thing that I keep coming back to is like this kind of effect. It's what we ran into with powerful cards in all card games, and especially in 1.0, was cards that not only had the surprise effect, but they also gave you a resource advantage.
Yes.
So you look at things like what was that one that I hated so much in the challenges phase? House Divided.
Yeah, dude.
Right. So this is like you don't pay anything basically.
God, House Divided.
And you just bounce. So, like, you get the surprise of them not having the thing that they thought they would have. And then you also take, like, 5 gold worth of stuff away from it.
And not only that, but you're choosing which one.
And you could...
That's the one with the same trait.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So this one, it's like you get the surprise, which is great. But you also have to pay as much as I paid for that character.
Yes.
So it's a huge advantage because you get them off the board when you want them off the board. But at least it's not like 1 cost.
Yes.
To put my 6 costs that I paid for off the board. That's too good. It's too much.
I agree.
But this is really good. It has a nice character-based restriction. You have to have a lord or a lady. Absolutely love that.
Yep.
I hope that there's more of that in this game. And you kneel your faction card.
Yes, so immediately. You can do it one time.
Very important. So we could see a lot of powerful effects that kneel faction cards. We could see this being played with. We could see a lot of effects that kneel your opponent's faction card that take that ability away from them. And maybe most importantly of all is that Lannister now, as I see it, going into the challenges phase, having 6 gold in their gold pool.
Yeah.
They marshaled 1 or 2 things. And they're just sitting there. And it's like he could have Things I Do for Love. He could ambush in a couple burn men.
Yeah.
He could play the Hear Me Roar and then ambush something in and then play things like...
You just have no idea.
If you're sitting on all this gold as a
That's
Lannister player, you have so much control over the game in challenge phase. It's like, man, that's probably what it feels like to go against the Lannisters.
Yes.
It's like they might look not that impressive, but they can field an army in 2 seconds.
Yeah, then they empty those coffers.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, whoa, a host.
So it's really cool. I love that we have talked about what would make this game really good, and tying theme to mechanics is one of the critical pieces of this.
Big deal, man.
And this has done, of any preview that I've seen, this is the most like thematic, like just accomplishment that I've seen with any house.
Yes.
So awesome. I can't wait to see some of these other previews, by the way.
Right.
I'm like,
I want to see some Greyjoys.
Let's talk about Tyrion, everyone's favorite character in this story. Let's face it, it's a 5-cost Lord, 4 strength with intrigue and power. You notice a significant lack of military icons so far.
That's right.
Aside from the old Burnman.
That's what they're good at.
He has stealth, which makes sense for Tyrion. And a reaction. After an intrigue challenge is initiated, gain 2 gold, limit twice per round.
Okay.
Done.
Hold
over.
Hold on, everybody.
Initiated, not one.
Yeah,
initiated.
Talk about a bananas response. That is bananas, and it's initiated, and it's not even by you. It can be your opponent, it can be you, it can be anybody in a melee game. Doesn't matter. That's crazy. 4 gold. You know, there's going to be 4 gold.
It's always 4 gold. You give your opponent this problem thing where it's like, okay, if I initiate an entry challenge, what I want to do, because he's got cards and I want to get these cards out of his hand, maybe I got 2 claim. He gets 2 gold, which then if he has Hear Me Roar, Burn Men, or even sometimes Things I Do for Love,
he can now afford.
I'm like, I don't want that stuff happening. Or maybe you have 2 gold already and I don't want to give you 4 so you can put the Queen's Assassin in. But then you're going to do it on my turn. And so like, the number crunching and like problematic things that happen in challenges with Tyrion on the board is exactly what you want in Thrones.
Yes.
It's those kinds of thoughts, those kinds of strategic, tactical kind of, man, so if I do this, what is the risk here?
Yeah.
Giving him 2 gold. And then if he does it back to me, and what if he has Cascade Rock out? And he can just do 2 and get 4 gold and then put something else in. It looks so synergistic.
Well, and the thing that I really dig about it is that you're talking about, you know, being unable to really like nail down what they're going to do. And that's like, you read the books, you watch the show, and whenever the Lannisters are really on point, they're doing something that was just unexpected. They showed up at Blackwater suddenly, or they showed up at King's Landing suddenly and they off the king, or they arrest Eddard Stark or something like that. It's like, they're doing crazy things
they're
all
making
the time.
plays, man.
I love it. It's just so mechanically thematic.
Well,
yes.
You know we gotta finish this thing off with the...
All right, Papa
big
Tywin
man,
coming up. Okay, so this, of course, is Tywin Lannister. He is a 7-cost unique character with all 3 icons, 6 strength, Lord traded, with renown, with the ability that reads, Tywin Lannister gets +1 strength for each gold in your gold pool. And then, if that weren't enough, +2 gold.
+2 gold. Immediately synergistic with himself.
Yes.
What if Tywin had been king?
Man, it would either have been like the darkest hour of the Seven Kingdoms or the greatest period of prosperity
I
ever.
think it would have been he would have been Machiavellian ultimately,
Yes.
but like he would have been super effective.
Yes.
Like things would have been running real smooth.
Mm-hmm. Commerce everywhere, money everywhere.
I mean, what do you want to say?
He's phenomenal. He does it all. He's strong. You're getting more than you paid for. Like you said, he's self-synergistic between his ability and the +2 gold. He synergizes already with cards that we've already looked at just today, Hear Me Roar especially. So it's like, oh, well, I had Tyrion out. I'm just going to pay 1, drop in a 7-cost fatty. Tyrion's going to win, get another +4 gold. That'll bump Tywin up to 10. It's crazy. And then I'll ambush, and then I'll do some other things.
And he's already playing into the strategy we're talking about, which is Lannisters sitting on gold during the challenges phase. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, I've got 11th strength, and once he either defends or attacks, then it's like, okay, now I drop all these things out. Mm-hmm. It's crazy, man. It's
truly crazy. He's just the kind of high-cost character that with a card like Hear Me Roar, you just plop him in there, and it's like, I was walking the line of winning or losing this round.
You're walking the line.
now I'm just going to straight up win.
Now it's just, game over.
Yeah, GG.
All right, guys. Well, there's the Lannisters. Goodness gracious.
Hear Me Roar.
That's I've never respected the Lannisters more than after this preview.
And worth noting, too, given what they've said at Worlds last year in terms of how LCGs are going to be distributed and cards rotated, these cards are with the game forever. They're in the core box.
Well, that's amazing. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. We got more previews for Thrones coming up, and this game is going to be something special.
Bananas.
So stick with us.